Welcome back to Frontline Insights. I'm Bill Brandt and we're live at IT Nation 2011. I'm here with Michael Byrne, who is the Director of Sales for the Quest Software Division, PacketTrap. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
We're happy to be here.
Yeah, outstanding. You know, it's a great kickoff to the show already. Early days so far in the event, but what brings you guys out here and how are things going so far?
Things are going really, really well. Connector-wise, this is our third year in the show and it's always been really good for us. They host an amazing event. They have a huge partner base. Based on our integration with ConnectWise, we have a fairly strong following, and it's good to come out to the show, support ConnectWise, and just support the partners that we're sort of working with and working through.
Yeah, absolutely. So interesting times in the market these days, obviously, but maybe you can help paint a picture for our audience on some of the trends you guys are seeing, and then tie that to the solutions that you're offering.
Sure, absolutely. I think it's a trend that's been happening for quite a while as it stands right now, where there's a bit of a telco convergence in the data industry, where telcos traditionally have sold their solutions, and from that perspective they support that, whereas they're now basically trying to get more of the wallet share of the SMB. So our software solution provides a full range of support and management from a VoIP perspective. We're launching, I think it's in this quarter actually, full support for ShoreTel and Avaya. We do full support for Cisco as it stands right now, where we can do call quality, MOS, jitters, and we give that other third dimension, which allows the MSPs to provide more services, as well as telcos looking to get into the space. One of the other trends that we've been seeing, which is fairly significant, is the SMBs becoming a lot more sophisticated in their network needs. And a lot, like all the competitors in our space, they all have great products and they provide a solid value to the base as well. But one of the areas where our software sort of differentiates ourselves from the pack is based on what we do on the network peripheral side. Okay. So if you're looking at what's happening in most environments right now, especially with the cloud, there's no conversation in the space where the cloud doesn't come in at some point. But the bandwidth traffic and the bottlenecks within the environments, that's causing a lot of issues, more so than just monitoring metrics on servers and desktops. And our software does a full complement of network and traffic analysis and web surf analysis and support.
So how are partners best leveraging your solution? When do they think of PacketTrap when they're out there talking to their customers? When's the best time for them to be thinking about it?
Well, and that's a great question too, based on the fact that the MSPs, when they purchase a RMM solution and they have a PSA like ConnectWise in their portfolio, they don't resell any of those services, right? So they buy the product off us. A ticketing system like ConnectWise, they provide all the metrics that allow them to track, bill, invoice, so on and so forth, and everything else those tools do. But what we sell them a product and they sell a solution. So it's not as transactional. So to directly answer your question, they look at our software in terms of when they're delivering their SLAs to their clients, they're looking at what services they're providing. And some of the services that they can provide based on our platform allows them to sort of bring to the table a different value proposition, where they can provide to their client base what their clients' staff are surfing, how much time Susie and Bob are on Facebook, so on and so forth. So that's where they might think of our software in terms of how they're going to sell their solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and partners are a big part of your go-to-market strategy. Why don't you tell us a little bit of how the partners fit in, and how you like to utilize them in terms of providing good solutions to your customers,
Sure.
to their customers.
Sure. Well, I don't think there's a vendor today that'll say partners aren't critically important to their business model, but what we've done in that effect is we've created a community which is one of the most vibrant within the Quest communities, and in conjunction with our community, which is also baked into our product. So an MSP's engineer could be working on an issue, and let's say there's a specific issue with a device that he's not 100% sure of, he can then just click onto the community tab, ask an expert within the community, and get that information. And there's a whole FAQ, so it's being added to on a daily basis. But in conjunction with the community, because I think the community provides a fairly substantial value to the base, we also have a partner advisory committee. And these are not necessarily super users, they're not necessarily the largest of our customers, but they're the most active within the community. So we look to the Partner Advisory Council as more or less, a sounding board for product steering, roadmap, their likes, their dislikes, and how to better improve the overall solution. So we're getting a lot of amazing feedback from the product, as well as what we deliver, not just from a technical perspective, but from a post-sales business consulting perspective as well.
Yeah. So for those partners who are looking to build managed services practices and either add that capability or take that capability to the next level, where are the opportunities from your perspective in working with PacketTrap?
Great question, because one of the key differentiators in coming to PacketTrap is, so if you're a VAR and you've never delivered services in the past, we have a business consulting track called the MSP Acceleration Process, which walks an MSP through an entire consulting track designed around their skill sets and where they fall on the MSP maturity curve. And we take the guesswork out of building their SLAs, what services to sort of incorporate that are going to maximize their value to their client base. And we have an entire pricing model that sort of strips out the noise in this space, because there's a lot of people who will just tell an MSP, hey, go out there and sell it for $150 a person and you'll make $1 million. And that's great if you're an accomplished salesperson, right? But a lot of MSPs, their skill sets are in supporting networks, and sales is something that some of them struggle with. And there's enough blogs in the space that talk about that. So what we do is we sort of take the guesswork out of what services are relevant in terms of bringing to the table, how to price those services. And at the end of the day, if you look at any MSP, there are literally only two variables from a pricing perspective, and it's labor and software costs. So we show them how to break that down to the lowest common denominator, and then it allows them to, at a very granular level, understand what their margins are off every client. Which speaks to, not to sort of elongate this point, but we changed our licensing model in April, which has just impacted the entire sales process in a very positive way from our perspective, but as well as from our client base perspective. Everyone, with the exception of one of our competitors, prices their software based on the number of nodes. Whereas we have a site licensing model where it allows them to have a fixed cost per client regardless of the number of devices and regardless of the number of offices that one client may have. So if they have, let's say, a retail store that has 15 locations, it's one client to cover those whole 15 locations. So it takes a lot of the guesswork out of how to price it, so they know exactly what kind of margin they're generating off each one of their SLAs.
That's important stuff, enabling the partners, not just bringing them on board and signing them up, but enabling them so that they can build a practice and make money and understand how it works is really important. On the flip side of that, how are partners working with you? What are everybody has them, all the vendors have, it's kind of the 80-20 rule we all joke about. Some are doing great, some are in the middle, some aren't doing that much. How are your best partners working with you, and what do they look like? What are some characteristics?
It's a really interesting question, because there is no one profile that you could say, here are all the characteristics that a successful MSP will have. Now, obviously, there are some traits that lead a specific business to be more successful than maybe another one. But how we're interfacing with those partners and all of our partners is, we rolled out actually 2 months ago a channel program, which is near and dear to me because that's where I got my start with one of the other competitors in the space. So the channel program is designed to give our partner base a central point of contact for all of their post-sales needs. So that interfaces with our business consultant team, who actually walks them through the acceleration process. And once they're done developing their SLAs and developing their go-to-market strategy, the channel resource is then assigned to that partner to help them execute on that. So what we've noticed through just the last 2 months of rolling that out, some of the traits and characteristics that are leading some of these folks to be a little more successful would be they're wrapping the right amount of scaffolding and resources around their sales engine. Because one of the questions I've asked a lot of MSPs over the years would be, when I say, like, who's going to sell this? And then you sort of say, well, I'm going to do it. And I say, you're the business owner, so you're running both sides, and it's hard to ride two horses at the same time. So I said, well, let's look at it this way. So if you were to hire me tomorrow, what resources would I have? What compensation model am I What leads am I going to be using? Can I sell into the existing base? Am I compensated? So we sort of walk them through just some best practice sales methodologies, because it's no secret most vendors are pretty good at selling.
Yeah.
And if we can transfer that knowledge base and give them a little more, tools that they could sort of bring to the table in how they're supporting their sales team, it's been really successful.
So that's sales a little bit. Just quickly, how about from a marketing or an operational perspective, what makes some of your partners better than others?
Well, it's a really good question, and the answer is fairly straightforward, because one of the main stumbling points a lot of folks have is they think when they purchase an RMM tool or even a PSA that it's plug and play and away you go. But you need to have that workflow ironed out. And the folks that are really successful are the ones that have a clearly defined, just knock operational process and workflow, whereas it's tied to their SLAs, so they're meeting their SLAs. And when when an alert's triggered, it goes into their PSA and what that workflow entails. So for the folks we're seeing that are a little more successful than others, are they've taken the time and the consideration to sort of map that process out. So we bring to the table some of just standard networking, best practices. But what we've also been able to do, going back to our community and our partner advisory council, is we've pulled that base considerably, and what works for you guys, what doesn't, so we can take that aggregate knowledge and then condense it down and sort of deliver that to the folks who may be struggling in those areas.
That's good stuff. Well, you shared a lot of great insights here on what PacketTrap's doing and how partners work with you best. Mm-hmm. Any parting shots on any new and exciting things, or things to look forward from PacketTrap?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that's a popular question. You get a lot of responses. I think one of the big advantages to being part of the Quest umbrella is we have access to a lot of the products that Quest has. Most of Quest deals primarily in the enterprise and mid-enterprise, but a lot of the tools that they bring to the table in those environments there's overlap in terms of functionality and need for the smaller folks too. So we're looking to bring down some more tools that Quest has in their umbrella. Backup is something that we've been looking really closely at. One of the other companies that Quest has acquired recently, well, actually a year ago. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be sort of rolling that functionality to our product in Q1.
Adding partners, focusing on existing mm-hmm. partners. Where are you guys at in that swing of the pendulum?
We've seen a pretty strong uptick with our new licensing model, and that's been able to sort of attract folks that are sort of struggling with their costs, and it sort of flatlined, that challenge that they've been having. So we've been seeing a steady increase. We've been doing pretty well from that perspective. Mm-hmm. One of the benefits that we're seeing as it stands from, what our partners are doing, pre-sale, post-sale, is with the scaffolding that we've wrapped around the partners to support them post-sales. We're clearly seeing that it works. So we're investing heavily in what happens to the folks once they've purchased. So that's where we're seeing a huge uptick in terms of staying behind the pendulum and making sure we're pushing in the right direction.
Great stuff. Well, Michael, I appreciate you taking the time. Cool. Lots of great information.
Thank you very much.
I look forward to seeing you guys throughout the show and more good things.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.